friends. You found us at Milk, Eggs, and a Whole Lot of Tea.
Yes, and we're so excited to be back with another episode. We are at a round table today.
Something different.
Something different, right?
Very professional.
It does, and it's all the plants are in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. This is great.
It is.
Okay, so Allegra, before we introduce our guest today, how have you been? What have you been doing? Tell me.
Been well.
Yeah.
The weather's been nice. I'm glad it's not too hot.
Yeah.
Good. But, sir, before I'm ignoring my guest right now. You have been out of town, outside, literally.
Yes.
How has that been?
Oh, it's been crazy. Like the last week, I mean, I'm sorry if y'all see like bags under my ass or something right now, but I've been to California. I've been to Oregon, Washington, back to Oregon, Utah, and then now home in the span of a week. So, but it's been so fun. I was on my partner, as you know, Brian. He works for Walker Hayes. So I joined them on the road for some of the tour.
Now, were you working or were you just in the way?
I was working. Trust me, you can ask anybody out there. But I was working. I helped do meet and greets. I made sure that, the crew, the band, everybody was good, all that good stuff. Kind of like a saying, it's almost like I'm a tour fairy because, like, I come in and I just sprinkle some goodness around.
So you are a fairy.
I just bop out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you call me a fairy if you want. But yeah, so I've been outside for a minute.
Good for you.
And now I'm ready to go back inside for just a second, rest and recover, and then repeat it. So it'll be great.
It's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so tell us who we have joining us in our studio today.
Yes. So, friends, since we are back inside, we have the one and only Miss Loki.
Miss Loki. Oh, everybody, welcome her to the table.
Cheers.
So
Welcome to Milk, Eggs, and a Whole Lot of Tea. Listen.
Clink, clink. Thank you for look at me spilling.
Yes.
Oh,
you're good.
we're good.
Oh,
Yay.
okay. So Loki,
Yes.
we have invited you to our table because one, we just find you fascinating and interesting.
Absolutely.
Goodness. I mean, what if I was boring? I'd be
Right, you wouldn't be here. No. And two, you make some amazing ice cream that we're about to dive into. And three, you're Loki. You're just amazing. So I'm going to let Allegra take it away. So we have some questions for you, and then we're going to, at the end, turn it to a fun little game to play with you.
okay.
So, Loki, I have to ask a heavy question for you. Who are you? Who is Loki?
Who is Loki?
Loki's Lokelani, Alabama, which is just, it makes me laugh whenever I say it because, my parents wanted to name me Who's Nelia when I was born, and that didn't work out.
Who is Amelia?
Who's Nelia? I was like, it's beautiful. They were real Rastas, though.
God.
They were cute. They were young. So I got Lokelani.
Lokelani. Oh, it's such a beautiful
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
No, thank you. It's the flower of Maui. So that's like the first, and everyone calls me Loki for short. So, and then Alabanza's the flower. I think it's Hallelujah in Spanish, the highest praise you can give God. So that's my Filipino side via Spain. So,
Wait, so let me ask you a question real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but are you from Hawaii?
no, my dad's side, the Alabanzas, I want to say our Lola fled like 1900 and landed from the Philippines and landed in Hawaii in 1900. So they've been there for a
From
like,
the
and my dad, there's controversy. My aunts are like, your dad was born in the Bay Area, but I was like, his birth certificate said, and I do read well, the territory of Hawaii. Yeah. And I was like in 58. So I was like, I don't know.
And there's only one territory of Hawaii.
Exactly.
Too.
So I was like, but this birth certificate he gave, I was like, why are you giving me your birth certificate? Oh, anyways, but he's there. My dad's still in Maui.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah, he's still there.
And are you able to go back and visit him?
I haven't been in so long, but we're going to Hawaii next month.
Oh,
And it's been, I won't say how long it's been, but it's been a long
It's
time.
been
It's been a long time, but
It has
are
been.
you excited to go back?
I'm so excited because it's just going to see him because, as you age and you're like, my parents are inevitable, and then one day you look at them and you're like, oh my gosh. And then when you hit a certain decade, you're just like, 20 years starts a countdown. You're like, I only have, we don't know how much time, but you just start getting this panic, but then you realize how important family is. I hadn't been home to Oregon to see my people in 5 years. And we went last November and I was like having this, we were landing and I was just like overwhelmed with emotion. And so as soon as I got there, I was like, oh, we made it, you know. And it was a beautiful time. But no, I haven't seen Dad in a long time. I'm really excited. He loves the company. He loves showing everyone around. He's very hospitable. But also it's like the best skin and hair of your life is being in Hawaii. And so
Isn't it like
it's
oh
just
my God,
the
it's
best.
beautiful,
Amazing.
Like, how is that a part of the United States? It's so beautiful.
It's gorgeous. And I always tell people, like, if you have a chance to fly in at nighttime, because when you wake up in the morning, you're just like gobsmacked just how, you know, by how beautiful it is. Also, I'm like Jurassic Park.
Right? Hello.
I like Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Where's
the dinosaur?
Yeah, exactly. So no, but we're going to go. I'm excited. And then, and everyone there, Lokelani is on schools. There's a rosé champagne called Lokelani. So then I use my real name. Lokelani. When I order things here, I'm Ruby.
What?
What?
Okay.
Yeah, I just say Ruby.
Wait a minute.
I'll be like, my name's Ruby.
So Loki,
What is
where does Ruby come from?
Because people don't, it's so phonetic. I'll be like, Loki. I'm like, they can't even say the name. So they're just like, my name is Ruby. A table for.
So at a Starbucks, what are you going to say with Ruby?
Okay, so you go by different names so far.
Well, the other one's like an
Lokelani,
alias, a random alias.
Loki, Ruby. Is there another alias that?
No, that's the only.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Yes,
amazing,
because when you have a
though.
phonetic name,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is funny because it's like it's so many vowels. So
Yeah.
I'm like Lokelani, Alabama,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you, it has just been so. I'm like, my name is Ruby, and then when people that have not experienced it with me, they'll go, "What, Ruby?" And I'm like, "What is this, Ruby?" Ruby.
Where is this
Everybody
Ruby
calm down.
at?
It's gonna be fine. It's
Ruby's
fine.
here.
Yeah.
Ruby is
We'll
good.
call you Loki
Yeah.
here.
Or like DoorDash, we're like, "Thanks, Ruby Scott," and I'm like, "No problem."
that is okay.
Oh, that's so
We know folks.
fun.
Okay, so Loki, question for
Yes.
you. So I know you sent in your background, thank you. And I was like, internet stupid. So
Oh, of course we do. We have to go. So we have to use- what is
Yes.
your thing? Beyonce's internet?
Beyonce's internet.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
All right, so correct me if I'm wrong. You worked internationally, Denmark,
Mm-hmm.
also private chef in Japan, which I've never been to Japan, never been to Denmark either, but that's one of my goals. So question for you, how have those both experiences influenced your cooking style?
Usually, I say, like, I talk about this a lot. I grew up so intersectional. Like, I identify as, you know, I grew up in the culture, and that's how I identify myself. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have a Polynesian first name and you know, the Spanish Filipino last name, and then you come up in a culture where, like, my grandmother's from Cleveland, Tennessee, and she did the Great Migration West, you know, and then her kids were born in California. So I grew up with Southern cooking, you know, the cuisine, and then my dad's side was Filipino, but there was a lot of like Filipino versions of food, and then Hawaiian.
I bet
It was
so.
delicious. And so that was just like we have our family version of how we make lumpia, you know, so like that's just part of it. And then my mom married my stepdad, who's my dad. That's my guy. Like since I was 9, that is my guy. His mom's Danish. And so I had a huge Danish, like,
Interesting.
Very intersectional.
I mean, at 9, 10, like that's where I was like,
Yeah.
this is how I learned to use this knife and fork and put this napkin in my, you know, so like she brought a lot of other really amazing things into my life. And a lot of that was her culture. And so when I got the chance to get out of high school, we went and did the year, this is going to age me, the Euro for
The what?
6 weeks. You take a train in Europe, you buy
Oh.
a ticket, and you basically train ride all throughout Europe.
Okay.
And so the Eurail is what we did. So I graduated from high school and then I went immediately to Europe. So we landed in England, flew into Denmark, and then took the train from Denmark all the way around and came back up. So it took like 6 weeks of backpacking,
Wow.
truly.
like staying in hostels
Oh
and
yeah,
things like
the
that.
whole thing.
Wow.
And so that was an amazing experience. And also I
Yeah.
hadn't traveled like that before.
Yeah.
And I just remember everything was so overwhelming because I was like, this is how these people live. Like I was getting a headache every day and I thought, oh, your brain is absorbing and doesn't even know how to process all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in California, which is amazing and beautiful. And then we lived in Southern Oregon. But I don't know, being at the Sistine Chapel, I was like,
Wow.
I was like,
Right. I mean, that's history.
oh yeah. And then this
Yeah.
place is older than your country. Like that puts
Yeah.
it better, you know, in this perspective. So when I ended up staying in Denmark. And everyone left to go home. And my dad's like, no one's going to change here. You're fine. Stay in Denmark. And so my first kitchen job, because I had my parents convinced I was going to be an actress. So I was like, I'm going to be an actress. So I told my dad, I was like, I'm going to cook. He's like, fish out of water. Kind of weird. Whatever.
I'll let you say that.
Yeah. And then I called my
Yeah.
great grandmother, on my dad's side, I was like, I'm going to be a chef. She's like, not another one. And yeah, she's like, we need a doctor or a lawyer. But I just feel called to this thing. That's how I ended up in Denmark. And then I had my one of my farmor, which is father's mother, my grandmother. We call her farmor in Danish. Her sister wanted me to go to this one restaurant in her town, Roskilde. And I said, okay, but I didn't end up going. I went to another restaurant because I was staying with her first cousin in Svendborg, which is the island between Jylland and Sealand, where Copenhagen is. It was called Svenshus number 13. And so like you walked in and there was one ambiance in the front, and then you go in the back and it was like an entirely different candlelit brick. It was really cool. But Sven was like a really interesting human. And so I love their chefs because they just took me in, and then they were just wonderful. So one night, like, Sven would pop in and everyone would be like, if Sven comes in, just act like you're cleaning. So you're just like cleaning the wall.
God,
Yeah.
God.
You're just like, oh, it's fine. And so one night, I think they had like bouillabaisse on the menu, which is a seafood stew. And I remember he was Loki, and he grabbed my hand and he pulled a chair up next to the door of the kitchen, and he sits me down and he says, and he hands me a book and he's like, you're going to read about bouillabaisse. You're going to learn about this. And then that was sort of the beginning of, you know.
This sounds like a whole script, like
Yeah.
from The
Right, it
Bear,
feels like-
The Bear, the show.
it's like a
The
TV
Bear
show.
gives me a lot of PTSD.
That gets me anxiety.
It gives me a
It
lot of anxiety
does.
because I came up in a time very different than everyone else is right now. I came up in a very different environment. It was very different.
Like men look down.
Oh
on
yeah,
women
men were,
and-
well, you know, it was that patriarchal. It was like, you know, and so when you look at the brigade system, the
No, you
pastry
said
chef-
grew up in a time, Loki.
I mean,
We know.
it just,
We ain't gonna publicize her
I was
age.
just like, because this girl looks.
I know, I do.
We look the
Yeah, I
same.
mean,
Liquid
Loki-
exfoliant.
I know,
But you know what?
Loki looks
Glycolic
like-
acid,
Yes.
salicylic acids really work.
I would have sworn to you that you would have been late 20s, early 30s.
Absolutely.
I was at one time.
You got that.
Yeah.
I was at one time. I was.
Look, you got
I
the
was. I was there one
G's.
time. I was there one time.
I was there one time.
Yeah, I
Okay,
was
sorry,
there one
because you
time.
got me when you said.
Oh yeah, the age thing, and I almost had to stop telling people because I can't. Because then people were like, well, you don't act this." I was like, "Well, what
What
age?
age do you
how are you supposed to act
act
Right.
at
a
this
certain
age?
age?
Like, why is this a thing?"
What are you supposed to do?
I know.
Mhm.
And then you realize, like, and it's a lot because society puts pressure on you for so many things.
Yeah.
And you're just like, when is too late, or when does this begin? And then you start looking, you're like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, it's when you're ready.
Right.
And then it's going to happen and come together. So,
Mm.
but yeah. So, no, I came up, I did Denmark, and then I came back home. My she had a dear friend named Catherine Moore, really like very cerebral, intelligent woman. She
Mhm.
was art history major, and she went to Italy, learned how to speak Italian. And so she taught Italian classes in Southern Oregon, which was really smart at that time because people were eating it up because those people were traveling. And I think
Sure.
Medford, Oregon's sister city.
I was just in Medford. Wait, is that where you
My
live?
parents lived there.
When I was in is it Jacksonville?
Jacksonville.
I was just in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's gorgeous.
That's where we were just at.
That's where my parents live. I went to Grants Pass High School.
Oh
My parents live in
my
Medford.
God.
That's where we were
That
last
was like-
November.
that was like 10 miles or like 20
Oh,
miles
yeah.
down the road.
Yeah.
from where-
Did you go to Ashland?
No, we literally
Ashland's
just
awesome.
went for one night because we just had a show that night. So we like
Mhm.
drove in that morning and then like drove in that or left that night.
Oh
But-
my gosh.
Oh my
That's
god.
my spot in Oregon.
Oh my god. Okay, so next time you go, maybe we could like all plan a trip.
Oh my gosh,
something.
you would love Lynn. Lynn would love you. You love my
Oh.
mom. Yeah. Because it's where we stayed. Umair had never been, and we flew in. It's so mountainous and gorgeous.
Really?
It's so
We
beautiful.
explored
So
it.
beautiful.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Bend is great. Yeah.
Too, and like Oregon's just gorgeous.
It's
like
stunning because you have the coast, you
Yeah.
have sort of like a
Mhm.
deserty dry part, and then you have
Mhm.
the forest, the redwoods, and then it goes into like the river, the Willamette. Like it's just it's so beautiful. Like one time my grandma, she lives on the Rogue River, and so like we're so spoiled. We're in this beautiful like old lodge house of hers, you know,
oh,
looking out onto the
oh my
Love it.
yes,
Love it.
literally big windows.
yes.
Her pool, where she made us dig a hole to plant a willow tree once and then dug it out to put a pool. And we're like, you broke our backs to like get this. Like, but so you have the river and then
I'd
the
never
old
forget
dam.
her. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the old dams across, they blew up, I think, in like, they demolished it in 69. But the mountains one year were eating, it was like, I think it was Christmas. Half the mountain was evergreen and the other half was white from snow. And it was like the most extraordinary. It was so gorgeous. It was so
That's
gorgeous. So just growing up in
crazy.
that. So we went to Asheville, I want to say a month ago. And when I hit that mountainous,
Yeah.
I went, oh, this is because Tennessee, until you go to Appalachia, like it's not.
There's no mountain.
There- yeah.
In Utah yesterday, we were there and like at one point we looked up and it was like, that's something that looks fake.
Oh,
Like it looks like
wow.
a fake picture. Like, but no, I mean, it's just fake.
Oh yeah, Lake City's airport.
Yeah, I was just there this
is
morning.
wild.
Trust me, I had to walk 14 miles
It's
in
very
that
lovely.
mother.
So nice though. I was like, they put money into this airport.
They
the
did?
bathrooms. I was like, okay, yeah, okay.
Fancy getting a reward for these bathrooms,
Okay,
individual
listen.
stalls that close.
Loki, I love this because I'm a bathroom snob.
I am too.
And if you don't have a good bathroom, you're getting all this credit from me.
Listen to me.
Ah.
That's a whole conversation now. 'Cause
Yes.
I'm going to pin this one because I want to talk about how you go, you pay money for food, and then you
Yeah.
go to bathrooms and you're like, is this real?
Right?
This is part of my experience.
Yes.
And now
Mhm.
I'm upset.
Because everyone has
It
to go
should be-
potty at
yes.
some point.
That's true.
This should be a public health thing because it is there are times where I'm like,
yeah.
We need a life
I'll
alert
care
button
more
to the public
I
health
know,
people. Like,
like,
hurry
can
up
you
and get
please?
here now.
Salt Lake City. That's why I
Yeah.
love Buc-ee's because Buc-ee's has they're cleaning them constantly,
Yeah.
and that, but it's a
Buc-ee's
door
is
that
my
closes. And I was like, everyone needs to just have a door that not
That
Yes.
properly
gaps in
cle-
between.
yes.
just has,
Yes.
and that's how it was. Because
Yeah.
in Japan when I lived there, I was like, yes.
They have like enclosed like
Oh,
closets
yeah.
basically, I feel
And then
like.
the birds are chirping.
It's just beautiful.
It is. It is.
So no one can hear nothing.
Yeah.
You're just like,
No,
come
the
on.
first time it happened to me, I was like, "What is?" And I was like, "Okay, I get it now. This is what's happening."
This is like an experience
It was
that everyone
amazing.
should have.
It was
I got
Got
something out of Cinderella with a bird and the
Yeah.
squirrels.
I was like,
just
wait a
and I
second,
can
flying.
relieve
No.
myself in peace.
I love it.
Okay, so
Oh,
so
God.
what brought you to Nashville?
What brought me to Nashville was a relationship that
Ugh.
no longer exists. But I used to come out here a lot for summers because my aunt and uncle live in Crossville. And then so we would go spend the summer on the lake there, which is beautiful. Very like, I was like, there's nothing here. So we're just going to be at your house. But then I got here, I don't even know. So it'll be 9 years Labor Day.
Oh,
weekend.
wow.
So I drove in from Vegas. I drove myself here.
From Vegas?
From Las Vegas. And
Nice.
because I lived there for 2 years. Yeah. I drove here
Oh,
from Las
wow.
Vegas. And it was Labor Day weekend. And then I would start work that following Tuesday at the Hutton Hotel as their executive pastry chef.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up here. And then I would be on my own like a year, maybe a year, 2 years later. And then
Mm.
I moved to East Asheville and I stayed because I just grew a community here at that point.
Yeah.
I was always hanging out in East Nashville. I had a friend that I worked with, and he would just show me around like where to eat. He was like we would just go eat everywhere, and so
Mhm.
that was a really great experience because it got me, situated in the city. But when it was time to like be on my own,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
divorce gods were upon me when I moved to East Nashville near the park. Thank you, 20th and East Side. I didn't know. I was like, wait, there's a park here. It's easy to get on 65, And so I was like,
Upper
these
Land, the
people are
mall's
nice.
right
They're
down the
walking their
road.
dogs.
We Gucci with all
I was like, oh, this house is $700,000 now. Yeah, the neighborhood changed, but I
Yeah.
lived in this old house built in the 40s, which is fine, doesn't matter. So, but yeah, that's what got me to Nashville,
Got you.
and so I have seen a lot of growth in the last 9 years because it wasn't like this.
It
when I got
wasn't.
here at all.
And I was 9 years as well, and it's
Mhm.
same. It was like, yeah, thank you. Same to
Mhm.
you.
Happy anniversary.
Same to you.
So
we
next,
have very similar stories.
that which is crazy.
Because I had a friend that
Oregon.
showed me around everywhere. and, like,
Yeah.
we were kind of semi talking, but then it was
Oh, this
like,
is a relationship.
Yeah, not even.
no, it was like we were talking and having fun, but then once
Okay.
that ended, it was kind of like Loki, like
Just have
I
to figure
knew
it out.
kinda- but I also kind of knew places and where to go and things like that. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I got it a little bit.
Yeah. No, he like my friend that I worked with, he really introduced me to like all the good, like where to eat Vietnamese food, where to eat, whatever, wherever, where to shop. And that just, if something opened up, we'd go together. And so that was really like the defining factor was that food thing.
Yeah.
But that helped a lot because then I could navigate the city after that.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting a job at a creamery. And I was driving from Hendersonville to
Oh.
Columbia.
Gosh,
Oh.
gosh, I can't.
Okay,
And
wait.
then-
Please tell the audience how far of a drive that is.
It's like 45 minutes, 50 actually, if you're going, it's like 50, 55. Because Murfreesboro is like 45 minutes. It's a long
It's a
drive.
long
South. Like you
traffic.
might as well just go to Alabama.
Yeah,
might as
might as well
well.
be in Alabama.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And then I moved to East Nashville. And then I was doing that commute. And then we opened another creamery in Murfreesboro. So I was doing the East Nashville to Columbia, Columbia to Murfreesboro, and Murfreesboro back to East Nashville.
Oh Lord, Jesus.
Oh my God, you're making me just tired.
a
just
lot.
thinking about
It was a lot.
right
It was a
now.
lot. It was a lot.
So with with a lot going on, how did you continue to have this passion of creating ice cream flavors? Because you created 300
Yeah, so it's been
flavors.
So for
Three.
when I was there, when I was there with at the job that I had prior to COVID, I was the culinary director. So when it started out, I was sort of the like pastry chef, and then we didn't have a director of ops at the time, so you're sort of like wearing a million different hats. But I also had worked with commercial equipment, so this equipment is like very expensive, like it's the price of a car. And so you're like, oh, you broke the lid, that's $600. Like so you had to learn how to like handle this stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's an amazing the man that came to the technician that came to set it up. He was so great. He was like, take it apart 3 times, put it back together, and he walked me through every step of it. And it's really because of him is why I learned how to use these Carpigiani machines, which were like, they're Italian, amazing. I think Sonic uses Carpigiani, and some other places. McCall uses Taylor, but that's fine. The whole thing.
Mickey D's.
And all
And that's why their machine don't
yeah,
work
that's
half the
why their machine don't work.
time.
And
McFlurries
But-
will be working.
Exactly. But the Carpigiani, so I learned a new trade, right? Like how to do this thing. And it kept me up a lot because I was making stuff, let's say like 2 to 3 quarts, not 20 gallons. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to learn the science behind it. But nobody was telling me these things. I had to go find out how to do this.
Wow.
And so that's sort of how it came together. So within that time in the beginning, I was making it for my bosses. You know, they're very specific. They want a thing. And then I think it was right before either Bourdain died or after, he had said something. He had written a foreword to somebody's Italian, I want to say cookbook. I don't remember the name of the cookbook. But he says, basically, you have to do this for yourself. You cannot do it for anyone else. And that sort of awakened something within me where I went, oh, I'm not making this ice cream for you. I'm making it for
You
me.
need to say that one more time and look in the camera.
Yeah.
That's your
I'm
camera
not
right
making
there.
it for you. I'm making it for me. And so,
Yes.
and that is a hard thing to do. It's like,
Yeah.
you're paying me to do this task because that's what my work is. It's task oriented, right? But for me, I have to learn how to grow because you get stunted a lot when you're stuck in sort of this repetition or you have a lot of pressure on you. And so the ice cream world, and then it was a game. I was like, oh, I can make this one. Oh, I can make this one. And then I was tapping in more of like, oh, well, it's the South. So the South has like these flavors and these flavor profiles, and we can put this together. We can do that. And then that's sort of how it did. Like it happened. It's sort of, there's like a method to the madness, I think. But within the 4 years before I left, I did clock at 300.
Wow.
And so I'm like over 350 now. But the crazy thing is, I kept it in my notes in my phone. And then one day, I accidentally deleted it. And I was like, I thought I was done. I was like, this is done.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going to
you're
go
all-
work somewhere
my
else.
life's work.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done. I can't go on. And
Wait, did
then
you
I
ever
found it.
recover it?
Well, I Googled how to recover and then I
Oh,
recovered
good.
and then I wrote everything down. I went home
Good.
immediately that night and I typed everything out, not
I
knowing.
bet your stomach dropped down.
Right.
It was because
You were just
because I
dying.
would just make a note. I'm like, oh, because one day I didn't do it for like a month, but I remembered all the flavors I had done. So I was like, look, you've got to write these down.
Yeah.
But then that later on, 5 years later, I would have 100 recipes to pull for a book. So, you know.
Oh, I
it
know
just
that's.
all
I can't wait
just,
to talk about
came
that
together.
part. Yeah.
What that is insane. Okay, so on that note, what is the story behind saturated ice cream? How did you come to, make this
Fruition
into a
with that.
business?
So the universe, for all of you listening, listen to your gut or the universe will tell you how to do something. And it's always the right thing, but it's not always easy. And so I didn't leave my job when I needed to leave. But then I do believe in divine timing. Like it's just timing, right?
Yeah.
And so it was time for me to go. We really had no idea what was coming down the pipeline, within that like 3 to 4 month period of 2020, right? So I had a friend, I met her very briefly, and I don't tell the story a lot, but I tell it. She's from Kentucky. Her father makes ice cream like every year. They have Adam Breezy Farms, and it's a beautiful place. The community goes there. And so the guy that sold us our machine, he brought them to the creamery in Columbia. And he's like, this is, he introduced us. And I was like, oh, she's amazing. Like she just had she was warm and like lively. And I met her parents and her dad was just tickled by like all the flavors I had. And they're like, you've got to come see us. So we kept in contact and she was always just such a cheerleader from afar, like not having known her very well, but she was just always very supportive.
Oh, so sweet.
And
That's
then she
sweet.
got diagnosed with cancer. And so the
Oh.
last time I would see her alive would be 2019. No, was it 2019? No, it was 2018. It was 2018. we had gone out there, like our mutual friend, we drove up there to see her, and she was talking about CBD at the time and how it helped her. And I had brought her some reishi mushroom powder. Something told me, I had just ordered this from this wonderful brand. And something was like, take that with you. And when I got there, she's like, I was just going to order more. So it's crazy that you brought this. And I went, oh my gosh. So we have this beautiful time together. And then she would pass away. I want to say it was like a Valentine's Day, because I remember being in Atlanta at Dr. King's house, like or I think I was at I was at the Ebenezer Church. I was sitting in the church. And yeah, listening to that Mahalia Jackson singing. And I was like, it was just so sad.
Yeah.
And so on my way home that night from our last time seeing her, so our way back to Nashville, I was driving. And so my brain's like percolating, right? And then I thought, what happens when you're in hospice and, you have to take your medicine? But what happens if you want a type of nostalgia? Like, what does it look like to administer it in something that you love? And like ice cream, I was like, ice cream evokes nostalgia and a good memory, a good food memory. How do you do that in your last day? Like, what does that look like? And then I was just thinking about that, and I went, well, then I was like, I could put it in the ice cream. I'm like, and so then it just like became a thing. So the first time I ever made it was like disastrous, because I didn't know how to measure anything or scale it out. And I thought it was what I wanted to do, and then I sort of just kept it at bay. So it wasn't like, it was just a thought, And then January 2020 comes. And then I was like, oh, it's time. I don't know what's going to happen. It's time for me to go. And so I get laid off permanently 2 days before the pandemic.
Wow.
But it was like, I called my dad, because I'm close to my dad. And I was like, Dad, I got laid off. And he said, good, you better start that business. Because we had talked about it.
Won't he do it? They'll speak to you.
And so I said, what the end of the world? Like, I'm money, like, all this stuff. And he's like, whatever. And then that was he was like very laissez-faire about it. But he was also like, what else are you going to do? And so I remember hanging up the phone, and I was like, well, let me apply for this unemployment. Also, so I took the savings that I had, and my dad sent me this Italian 65-pound ice cream maker. Probably that was when was the shutdown? Like March?
Yeah, March.
So I got that maybe April, like May-ish, June. I think I got it in May. And then I remember the FedEx, it's so heavy.
Yeah.
I dropped it. I was like, what is this? And then
you had no clue what's coming.
I had no idea. It's like, so my dad.
Your dad was speaking dreams to you.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, Dad's having this machine. And that is when it happened. So the name for it comes from, at first I was going to name it. I met this woman. She was serving us at a restaurant. And she goes, my daughter's name is Callie. And we're like talking about names. I was like, what's it short for? She goes, California Skies. And I was like, if there is a CBD company to be named something, because I'm Californian. And she's like, yeah. And I was looking at the clouds. I was like, California skies are beautiful. I was like, you named your whole child California Skies.
That's deep.
Wow. That's real deep.
That's like different.
Yeah. So I was like, this is what it's going to be. And so then I go see my friend. I refer to her as Sister Brooke. We worked together for many, many years. I love her so deeply. And she's also in the ice cream business in San Francisco. And we're eating dumplings. And she goes, what are you naming it? And I said, California Skies. And she said, no, saturated, because the market's saturated. And I went,
oh, okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. So she really is the reason why it's named Saturated. And then that's how it started. So we started in the summer of 2020.
And where can we find saturated ice cream?
So right now I've like pinned it because I've got this project done. But I also finally found a manufacturer, because now I'm in that space of I want to manufacture it, because I think I did the math, like over 11,000 units by hand. So like nobody helps me. It's just so much ice cream. It's a lot of work. And I really believe in the product, but it's also like, getting a business, getting funding for it. And then it gets scary, because you're like, is this what I really want to do? And you're like, no, this is what you want. So just make it happen.
Just do it.
So, but I tell everyone, like, we've just had a beautiful ice cream social a couple weeks ago.
It was so gorgeous.
It was wonderful.
Yeah. So I want to do more of that, but also I always say you can DM me and I'll send you a list, because I'm keeping it pretty low profile until we roll out with this next. So it's still there. She still exists.
She's still
There's always ice cream. But I really want also people to come and attend these ice cream socials. I think that when they,
yes, the gold tin with the egg.
Oh yeah,
that
was like, I'm kind of curious to know what it is, because it's like an egg yolk.
Oh yeah,
and the ice cream, but that
was the butter.
That was the butter pecan. I do remember that. And that egg yolk gave it like a.
It was like a.
Almost like it cut the butter pecan kind of, or like it not cut it, but it kind of, I don't know.
To me, it was
right.
like more creamy with the
Yeah.
egg, because I was kind of like, what, egg yolk and ice cream.
And we got, I mean, I followed two of the ladies that were there
Yeah,
too.
I know.
Like,
I was just having
yeah,
a
it was
conversation
just-
about how people leave with friends.
yes, like
Yeah.
it was so great. I mean, it was, one, it was beautifully decorated and set up, but it was just, it was so cool learning and like just meeting new people.
Yes.
I would have never in my right mind talked to
Mhm.
these ladies ever until they were sat right here, and you're
Right,
like,
you were-
oh, okay, I
yeah.
gotta talk to you.
But also the Frisk Museum, because we were talking about, I have never been to the Frisk Museum.
Yeah.
A lot.
And was that your first event as well?
No, that was like my second or third.
Okay, then.
Actually, I'm
Okay.
close,
I
Susan,
am a
thank
museum
you.
snob. Okay, I do like my
That's my second or third.
museums.
It was my first event, and I was like, that was amazing.
I'm
Okay,
so glad.
That's awesome.
good.
Yeah, no, it's that's the intention, right? Is really ice cream's intersectional.
Mm-hmm.
The table is the anchor that brings community together,
Yeah.
and that is
Well,
what it
what's
is.
crazy is you, just from you talking to us and knowing you a little bit
Mhm.
more, is like, food has been such a central point of your life that
Mhm.
also too, and just general food brings people together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny you just said like that. The table is the anchor. I mean, even now,
Mhm.
like this is we're sitting
Oh,
around a
yes,
table. I mean, or a
100%.
table. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Like
100%.
I mean, even food,
Mhm.
like we all eat at a table together.
Yes.
Like it's something about, it's a table,
Mhm.
it could be any type of table, but it's like
Yeah.
it brings people
Mhm.
together.
It's just that community, and
Yeah.
and food also for me is a lot about identity.
yeah.
And so
Mm.
growing up and really like not really talking about identity growing up a lot, and just like where you fit in the world or where you feel comfortable,
Yeah.
and having so many different cultures that have, I've been exposed to, or that I am
Mhm.
part of that fabric, and
Mhm.
so it really has helped quell that. Like I see like, oh, but this is ultimately in the end,
Yeah.
all of these things are connected.
Yeah.
And so it's helped out a lot. And I really, as much as it's just been so much part of my life, like for so
Mhm.
long, that without it would be a strange place. But I didn't know that it would lead me here. So that's the part that has been the most surprising. It's just this space and this specific niche. Because really, when it comes down to it, it's like, I'm just telling these stories because you have to tell the stories of the dead,
Yeah.
And then how are you a vessel? Like, and then
Yeah.
being creative is like extra fun. So,
Oh, it's so much fun.
and there's so much to that. But
Yeah.
that's genuinely what I wanted everyone to have, that, you leave with something,
Yeah.
and that was like the biggest part of it. Like,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
don't need
it-
to know what goes on in the background. It's just like, I have to feel the table.
Yeah. And,
Right,
I mean, and
right.
you even did that activity of like write your favorite, like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That moment of
Exactly.
when you
Memory,
discovered
yes.
ice cream, or really like
Yes.
had that fond memory, and it was so
Mhm.
like, you got to think, you had to sit there
You
and think about it. And you're
do.
like,
Oh,
it was interesting. Like everyone had a different experience
Oh, yeah.
or what they,
Mhm.
yeah, it was just,
And then people get quiet,
Yeah.
yeah,
and they're like, and I'm like, no, you're passing this. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
and then once one person breaks the ice,
It
and it's
just
like, oh wait, I
happens.
got one, I got three, I
Yeah.
got three stories,
Yeah.
and then it keeps going. But I was like, also, we poured you
Mhm.
plenty of booze.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead and tell the story.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
ultimately, for me, I keep them all because I think eventually want to keep them together because they're so
Yeah.
significant. But they do tell a story, and that story, I think, in times that are precarious,
Mhm.
it's how we're living right now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That small joy, we cannot push that enough.
Right.
Is getting people to know what that is and how
Mhm.
specific and special. And that's why that exhibit was so special. Seeing what Black joy inspired by,
Yeah.
so that
Absolutely.
is the whole thing.
Mm.
And that was really what it was. It was like every theme. There's a different theme for each social, but this one I was like, oh no, this is about this like joyful Blackness.
Yeah.
Like I want to, and then I want to show you, I want to tell you this history. Like
Mhm.
you're not going to leave here with like
Nothing.
Yeah, you're going
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave
You're
here
going to
with
learn something
Okay.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did learn
We
something.
did.
Yeah.
I like
Like
that.
it was just, it's so cool what you're doing with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. Ask
So
some African American culinary history
yeah.
questions, because I love some questions that
I
we have for
love-
you.
for sure, I love at the Frisk Museum, it was connected to Black joy.
Yeah.
But also it showed like the old photos of like African Americans with ice cream.
Oh yeah.
And even like with my first memory, it took me back to like my grandpa eating butter pecan ice cream, which I did not like the flavor back then
Yeah.
or anything. So anywho, going back to, let's talk about a little bit of how African Americans is connected to ice cream. It's part of our history. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to get so excited. I'm going to start reading.
It is deeply a part of our history. And then people forget, like, it is America's history as well.
Absolutely.
And so, you get like the shout outs about, Thomas Jefferson discovered ice cream, and there's, James Hemings. I was like, oh no, it goes back further than that.
Way further.
Yeah. And so
I'm sorry. And why do you think it's important for you to? Because I know your socials, you talk about African American histories, and like there's old photos. So why is that important?
Our culture is so specific and so important. And I think a lot of the time, not a lot, most of the time, a lot of things just get pushed down. The fact that like you couldn't Google African American ice cream makers and you get nothing makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was what was hard. And so the funny thing, finding the information that I found, I had an uncle who passed away in 2021, the summer. My dad's middle brother, they were all very close. There's 3 boys and they have 2 sisters, but the boys were very close. And he died unexpectedly. In 2021, it was so devastating for our family. And I was like, I remember when I heard about it, it was just a lot. And I went and I was looking for pictures of him and the 2 of us together. I was like frantic, like I've got to find this photo. And I remember pinning it. So in my old house that I used to live in, I had my like office area and my desk, and I had this giant board above it. So I would pin like quotes or whatever to get me through this writing. If I had an idea, it would go on the wall or on the board. So I take this picture and I pin it on the board, and then I would write. I'd go and sit down and write because you're like, you got a year to get this manuscript together.
Right.
So you're like, get your life together. And also I was like, am I disciplined enough for this? So one day I was having trouble just finding something. And I remember I was like looking at this photo of my uncle, and this little voice said, Google African American ice cream parlors 1920. I was like, well,
that's very, yes, that is okay, Lord. We get it.
Okay. And then I Googled it, and this beautiful paper came up from a black professor at the University of Kentucky. And that helped guide me into the direction that I needed to go. And that was the first thing that came up in Google. And I was like, okay.
Shut up.
So Uncle said, gone and
literally, like, I really feel that he led that was because of, we just had a moment, and he was like, here's this information for you. And like, I never really tell that story, but it's so significant to the work that came after that. And then I'm in these books. I'm reading specific books. I'm going through this archival, all this stuff. So that part is important because I have to unbury it because if I have to take it out of the ground because it has roots and it has life. And so bringing it up into the air now and watching this tree grow is like really beautiful, but it hits everyone because then you realize you're like, wait, everyone loves this thing.
Yeah.
And everyone has a really fond memory. But I also want to tell you why this happened. I want you to know that when you live here, people not knowing about Sarah Estelle, like
I was going to ask you about that.
Born and raised in Nashville, she was legitimately the queen of ice cream in 1840. So this is 20 years before the Civil War. And she was a free Black woman. She was an entrepreneur. She was making money. She was respected. And so those things are really important because it's part of the city's history. But also, I'm like, I want you to, like, when you walk down that aisle to, like, think, a Black man invented the mechanical ice cream scoop. These things are important. And so if no one else is going to tell the story, and I have the opportunity now, because at first I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I loved the history part. I love food nostalgia. And I have to paraphrase it like that because a lot of people don't love nostalgia. They don't think it has a positive effect on itself. I was like, no, I think I just say, no, food nostalgia, but invoking something in you, people can smell chicken. They can smell anything. And they're like, oh, I remember I was at this place in time. And you cannot buy that. It is not for sale. And that brings me joy because then I've done my job, So all the work that leads up to making ice cream, getting an event together, doesn't matter. That's all time. And then it passes and you do it again. It's really how people feel emotionally and how you leave that makes me the most proud to do the work.
Yes.
And so I just want these stories to carry on. I mean, I had the honor to talk to a 100-year-old woman who made dresses for Jackie. When she was Jackie Bouvier. She was born in New York, raised in Jamaica, and she came from an affluent Black family, which you don't hear about a lot. And she told me I said, did you make, Mother Hilton's her name. I said, did you make ice cream? She's like, oh, no. She goes, we had people to do that for us. But I love that, right? And then I got to talk to her daughter, and then her daughter tells me her first flavor. And I was like, these are beautiful.
Yes, history.
This is history. And so the photographs started, we needed a visual. And the first one I bought, I think in 2018. It was like way before any of this, just like the name for my book, I wrote those 2 addresses down before 2020, thinking like they'd be cool for something. So that I like unconsciously manifested that thing. And then I got my first photo. I was like, oh, I'm kind of obsessed with like seeing these beautiful pictures of like Black America eating, like whether they're from like the 60s or the 50s,
Yeah.
just having a good time, just being joyful, just being like, oh, they're in their Sunday best, whatever. Somebody had a name, somebody had feelings, somebody had dreams, where do they live, all of these things. And then the ice cream thing. And then it became, I don't know, it was like the universe just opened up and I'm at 75 now, which is crazy because it's so specific. And they're not just like, you can't just go find them.
Yeah.
And I started with the amount that I had and I was really proud of it. And then I was hoarding this bag and my friend who's a historian came over and she's like, you're stressing me out because you're not wearing gloves. And a lot of them are like the original.
The original photos. Yeah.
Fingerprints on me. And it was fake. She was like, I can't deal with
you're giving her
She's
a
like,
hand.
really? She was like, Loki, get it together. Here's a website to get archival boxes. So that I realized. And then in the end, it's like, well, they're not mine. Like eventually they're going to have to go somewhere. But when I put visuals to the story, then it changes the whole thing.
It does.
It does. I mean, it's one thing seeing words on a page versus like connecting with a human's face and saying like this was a real person and this was real events that happened. Whether you're black, purple, brown, whatever you are, but like,
you're telling the story. I love how everything literally starts with a whisper and then it just goes from there.
It is. It's sort of like I don't know. I love it so much and I love talking about it because in my life I've realized I can connect anything with ice cream pretty much.
You can.
Which is a wild thing to think.
But everyone's had it.
Everyone's had it and everyone has everybody just has an experience that they are like, this is what I like, this is what I want. And so I thought, well, we'll just add this other little thing to it, which is history, and then I want to talk to you about the complications of sugar and I want to talk to you about all these other ingredients that go into it, but also I forget I am a black ice cream maker. I don't even look at myself as I'm just like
as a badass. You were making history.
Yeah, I don't even think about it. I just think like I'm just here. I gotta get these words down on paper. We're doing this thing.
But
so
it's more than that.
Yeah,
it's so much more than that. But it brings me joy. Like just I don't know. I really, and it's hard. It's hard when you're like I have this stuff and I'm like, I just want the world to see it. Like I want people to, I want this exhibition. I want people to see these faces and you get the same feeling that I do when I look at them.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they're just, at my house in a bag right now. But it's
coming together.
Yeah, it's coming together. And it's really like when you start putting it together. But that was the first time showing the photos that no one outside the house had ever seen the photos. So that was the first time having them.
You like
looped out
gave
like
us
that.
a peek
I
of
gave
what
you a
people were
tiny
experiencing.
bit.
Yeah,
Because it was what probably.
Wow.
There's like 21.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
they were just going through the loop.
It was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But the cool thing is like because they're all black and white, most of them.
Yeah,
and
they
had
were.
that bright background that people would like. You think you saw one, and you're like, I didn't even see that before. So
You're telling their stories.
yes, 100%. And they are the faces that when it was hard and the times when I was writing and I didn't think I could make it, they are the people like those faces and those spirits like gave me the extra like like that energy to move. To go for it because I'm telling you, like in the middle of it, I was like,
say that again.
I mean, that was what it was. It was like it just moved me. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're doing this. We got to get this thing done. So, yeah, that's how. What do I tell her? I just make this ice cream. We're just like we're just making ice cream.
It's like you're making history.
Yeah.
It's
like it's history.
It is, and it's not. Because I can see everyone like ice cream's sort of become a really interesting place of like. I don't know what the word is for it. Everyone wants to, it's very popular right now to make and to do. And I just look at it in a very different lens.
Absolutely.
Now, which is more of like, I can still make you a great flavor, but I also have this other thing. The reason why we have it.
Exactly. You have that other thing that adds that extra layer to it of anyone can make ice cream. But can you make ice cream that's good, that means something, that's rooted in history, like has a story to it?
Yeah.
That leaves your taste buds like,
the attention. Oh, yeah. I mean, and just, like Sarah still was making Parmesan ice cream in 1840. Like, not new, like it's just like not a new flavor.
No.
But that was modern, that was normal. So just little things like that. But
Crazy. Okay, one question before we turn to our game. What advice would you give to aspiring chefs who are starting out in their culinary careers?
I would just say don't stop. There'll become a point where you get burnt out and you're like, I'm done. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
But I want you to push through that because there's so much on the other side of that. And it's really important to keep it moving, especially when you feel like I'm the only one that looks like me in this, or, you know, I feel that like I'm not getting the respect. Like, just show up and do the work no matter what. Like, do your best work because I didn't think. If you had told me, I'm telling you, 10 or 15 years ago, I'd be like, there's no way. Ice cream, like,
Right.
So it just, you'll figure your groove out, but you got to be honest with yourself because everyone wants to be on TV or seen, but you got to just know if you even really love it. And if you love it, you should stick with it.
Absolutely.
It's it's I don't know if we've said this yet or whatnot, but it's crazy how something that seems so basic, like ice cream, is so complex and like so like
Yes, it is.
and it helps bring people together.
It does.
Making it is complex. Like,
Well,
The
you
science
know,
behind it.
but it seems like in the human mind, you're like, oh, it's just ice cream. It's just a flavor. And you're like, oh, I got it. And you're like,
I can do that myself.
Right?
Okay, good luck.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
Ben and Jerry's who?
Yeah.
right.
Listen. Okay. No, it is one of those things. It is complex. The ingredients, it's a really interesting thing. It just, and everybody has an opinion about it. And or like, I'm a connoisseur. That's my favorite one. I'm like, I didn't
Okay.
ask. That's fine. You know,
Yeah,
I
okay.
didn't ask you. I just want you to eat this.
I'm a
you know?
connoisseur as well of different things. So, okay. So here's the fun time. It's time to spill the tea.
Alrighty. So, first question. Want me to kick it off? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what are we going to do with her first? We got to tell her what kind of game we're going to play.
Oh, so these are just random questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just very, very, very random.
Yeah.
Random
do it.
questions. You got 10 seconds to answer.
Oh, okay.
So it's
I was like,
fire. Okay. Go ahead. Like,
What is your earliest memory of ice cream?
the ice cream truck in East Palo Alto, California. I grab my little change and run down the green steps, and then it would stop in front of our house, and then I'd get my Choco Taco, or I loved a Rocket Pop, so I knew novelties. It's a novelty, and like I didn't know like
Yes.
scooping ice cream, except for that's a lie.
I
My
used to
grandma
love
had
a Choco
Neapolitan
Taco.
and a strawberry shortcake, and then I'd get some candy if I had change left over. Yeah, so that's my first is ice cream truck.
and how old were you?
I had to have been. I was living with my grandma at the time, so probably 6, 7.
young.
I was young. Yeah, because
Okay.
also Neapolitan, I didn't like them together. I had to eat them separately.
I did too.
And that's all she would get was Neapolitan.
Yes.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Did the same.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate
exactly.
all the time.
And my mom said she loved Jamocha almond fudge, which I really need to make that flavor an ode to my grandma, Margaret, who raised me, but I haven't done it yet. So, yeah.
That's
But those
a
are
little-
my,
That'll come up though soon.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so earliest childhood. Okay. Okay, so if you could create an ice cream flavor inspired by your favorite movie, what would it be?
Wait. So I love the movies. I love the movies so much. This one's, you know what? I'm gonna make it color purple-esque because I've seen that so
Oh.
many times.
Yes.
It's the
Have you
reason
seen the
why
new one?
I haven't watched the new one
I
yet.
haven't either.
I haven't because I want to, and I'm having a hard
I'm
time
the
getting
same.
past this.
What?
It was like the second coming to America. I was
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
like I get on the
Same.
phone with my cousin. All we have to say is it's gonna rain on your head, and like,
Yes.
but it would be because that was really if someone asked me like my memories of wanting to cook, it was watching that scene that Celie makes breakfast for
Yeah.
Chug
Yeah.
because Mister doesn't do it right,
Yeah.
and so that, and then like Julia Childs, Yen Can Cook, all that stuff. So that it would be something. I don't know. It would have to be probably maybe because they had the juke joint, so it's got to be something that
Yeah.
would be
Pro-esque.
something.
So the deep,
Yeah.
southern rooted.
Something made with love, and like how do you put
Yeah.
friendship and love and sadness all into a flavor?
Because also too during that time frame, that was not the best time.
No,
at all.
which been talked about when I talk. You could go buy it, but like you're just making this difficult for me to go sit
Exactly.
and
To get some
creamery
vanilla
to
ice
just get this
cream.
ice cream
Yes.
have with my family, which is like and so the lure is then
butter pecan becomes this
Yeah.
really this favorite flavor. But also I'm like, but vanilla is just like so specific because you can have someone try 15 flavors, and if they only had vanilla as a kid, that's the only flavor they want as an adult.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that's that story. The lore is like deep in there. And so there's some,
The history.
it's the history.
I love just everything about
knowing.
you is like a story, what you've created, what you're doing, which is amazing.
Old lady one day.
She'll be sitting on a rocker out the front porch.
Still like,
I remember a time.
Yeah.
I remember a time.
Okay, here's one for you. What's the most unusual dessert you've ever turned into an ice cream flavor?
it was hot chicken. It wasn't a dessert. So hot chicken's not a dessert. That's
Hold
why.
on. You may almost make me choke. Hot chicken into a
It's not even a
dessert.
dessert. Okay, so that's the weirdest flavor.
Hot chicken. Hot
did.
chicken flavor.
It was hot chicken. It
Did
took me
it
a whole year
taste
to figure
like
it.
hot
It tastes like hot chicken. The spice, the
What?
fried, the color.
What?
It's in the book.
Okay.
It's like the first. Yes.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to buy this book when it comes out because I'm gonna.
When that's
Yeah.
okay. What's your next culinary journey? It's the cookbook, right?
Yeah, the cookbook is definitely, and then getting into retail, right? But the book is my baby. It is
I'm
what
not
I have
sh-
poured myself into for 3 years. This history, this ice cream, and then
Yes.
taking you on this journey. Really, it is. I want to give you what I've made, and I want you to make that part of your family legacy that you can
Ooh.
pass down. Because my
Ooh.
grandma died when I was 12. She raised me, Miss Margaret, and she was an excellent cook, but she didn't write anything down, and she only had one cookbook. It was a Betty Crocker cookbook, and I think my mom got it, so I didn't know about food photography back then because I thought everything had to look like the thing until I was like, oh, why don't my cookies look like this? It's a disaster. And so I have a hole, I think, in my heart of myself that I want to fill with these things. And so I always admire people that have family recipes or handwritten things from their grandparents. And so that's why I went on I just started buying old cookbooks. Like I have an insane collection of vintage cookbooks because of that. And then I was like, wait, Loki, you created your own recipes that, because again, that didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't connect those two things.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that is based off of, so it's one of those things that I am constantly like trying to fill these recipes, this thing. And so the book is important that way because I want you to be able to carry that legacy for yourself and your family, whether you take the base and whatever you do with it and you add something, you take away something, but it's yours now because it's not mine. I passed it on to somebody else. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I feel like you'll be done with the book, but you'll never be done with the books. Almost
Yeah.
like
Everything.
a series. Like
Continue to grow.
you'll be like a part 2, part 3, because it almost sounds like that. Like you're having a struggle kind of completing it because you're like you want so much in it, but you're also like because you want to give everyone everything, but you're like you have so much more too that you're like, oh, I can keep going. Another book, another book.
There's a lot. Like I have a friend, I love it, a very dear friend of mine who I respect a lot, and her opinion, read it, and she's like, oh my gosh, I wanted more of you. But I was like, but it's not about me. This book isn't about me. It's about telling this other story and giving this historic part. And then it's like, oh, I do need to start working on a second, proposal. And I'm like, well, what are we? I'm not done with this one, but what are we gonna? But I was like, well, ice cream sort of been, but I don't talk about my own culinary journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk very briefly about like where I've cooked, but not my time in LA. Majority of my experiences was in Los Angeles for 8 years. And that is really what brought me up into the culinary games. Yeah, there's still so many. And also what's going to be cool though is when the book does come out.
It's coming.
It's coming.
We're
It's
calling
coming,
that.
boo.
I love you too.
We got to. We're your best cheerleaders.
Okay.
Is that I can't wait to hear other people's stories, and then when they pull pictures out and then they have, like that part I'm like so excited for is to see like, my grandma, I can't wait. I'm like so looking forward to that other side of what other people, because I'm like, I found this little bit, and then everyone has all these other things that are, going to turn into.
I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so excited
Awesome.
too. I know.
Oh, okay, wait. So yes, hot chicken, yes.
Yeah,
And
okay.
then,
Hot chicken, ice
Weirdest dessert. It really was ambrosia salad. I made ambrosia salad into ice cream, and it is one of my most favorite flavors.
Ambrosia salad.
Listen, it is so good. It is so good.
What?
Delicious.
You tell me you put a salad
Say it again.
as the ice cream flavor
Ambrosia.
and want me to eat
salad.
something healthy while I'm trying to eat something
Listen.
sweet.
I took the ambrosia. So everyone has like a different variation of ambrosia.
Yeah.
So I just took I took the pineapple.
I took the strawberries, the orange.
Okay. Okay.
If you're allergic to nuts, sometimes it has like candy pecans in it. The coconut,
Mhm.
and then I learned. I can't tell anybody the secret, but I got the base secret. I changed it up on everybody, and I added a special ingredient, and then it just takes it right over the edge. Oh, and marshmallow cream, because that would be the like fluffy, like that would almost be like the whipped cream part or the.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm mad you didn't bring it. Now I'm mad.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
okay.
Everybody's like, Amber.
Oh my gosh.
That one, because I was like, it's Southern. I was like, Southern.
Yes.
Well, I did cheer one because that's like a real Southern-y
Yeah.
thing I didn't grow up with. But ambrosia salad I did grow up with. And I was like, what's this weird?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's pink, sometimes
Yeah,
it's not.
you
Sometimes it's
just-
just oranges and
Yeah.
marshmallow. You're like,
Yeah.
you just threw these marshmallows on top.
That's all you did, and just
What
put it
is
together.
it?
Yeah, but then ambrosia means food of the gods.
Yeah.
And literally,
Oh.
I've turned this into it's so good. It's
Okay.
just
She's claiming she got the food of the god, or the ice cream of the
Ice cream
gods.
of the gods.
Okay.
I love it.
Listen,
Okay.
but that one really, because people like ambrosia salad. Because
Yeah.
I know they're like, I had that stuff after church. I don't want any of it. But I'm like,
Oh, I used to
listen.
eat that all the
I mean,
time.
I believe you did, but
It's got
no.
that texture,
Yeah,
but it's
same.
not.
I know. It's like one of them.
No.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
ambrosia salad.
Ambrosia salad.
Mm,
Well, listen, Loki. We got to wrap up this episode.
we do. I'm stuck
I
with this
can
ambrosia
keep
salad.
talking to you
Yeah.
for hours. One, we didn't even get near all of our questions.
No.
Well, you can't even. You why don't
Oh.
you just ask another one?
Well, I mean, listen, I got a ton. I got
We
a
do.
ton.
Okay, go. Well, I do have one question for
Okay,
you.
what's the question?
If you could make an ice cream for any celebrity,
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
who would it be, and what flavors would you choose?
That's a good one.
Any celebrity.
We
Oh,
suck.
you know who it's gonna be? Alexander Skarsgård, and we're gonna make a licorice flavored one.
Remind me who Alexander
Me
Skarsgård
either. I just
is.
said okay, like I knew.
Yeah, girl, you act like you know him from yesterday.
Did you watch True Blood? Big Little Lies?
Yes, True
Oh, Big
Blood.
Little Lies, yes.
It's which? Yeah.
Wait,
Scandinavian, tall, Swede.
the handsome thing you want to lick.
Our
Yep.
joke is,
Yeah.
that's my joke. All my friends will know that when they watch this. It'll be funny. I
Yeah.
was like, Alexander Skarsgård, he's Swedish. We'll make a licorice. It's gonna be great. Licorice. It's gonna be great. Baby daddies, listen, I'm just saying. Okay, but no,
We'll at him. Please hear this.
You better, your boyfriend better not be
I
watching
said it
this
one
one
day. I was
right
like,
now.
"That's my baby daddy." He's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like, "What's happening?"
Not the Prince of
I
Egypt.
was like, "You."
Not the Prince of
Like,
Egypt.
you don't even watch TV or movies. It doesn't matter.
You'll be fine.
It don't even matter
Sorry.
to you, boo.
It's
Just
fine.
gone.
You'll
You
be
don't have to
fine.
worry
You'll
about
be
nothing.
fine.
Let me enjoy this in this Delulu of mine.
Yes, can I be in my
Yes.
Delulu?
Mind your business.
Listen, it's gonna be great.
And what was that tongue action?
So good.
All right, friends.
This is short today. I don't know what's happening, but we are. I mean, it's Loki. She's bringing it out, and I love it.
This is amazing.
Okay. Well, are we saying good night? Are we saying goodbye to everybody?
Yes. Good. Thank you, Loki. This
Yeah,
was
awesome,
nice.
yes.
You.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for yes, and I cannot wait to come to more ice cream socials. Tell people more
Yes.
about the ice cream socials.
Yeah.
Can't wait to buy the book as well.
Mhm.
Hopefully, by the time we launch this, the book will be out.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But
T
it
minus
also-
2 days. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Tomorrow.
Coming
Is that ready?
soon.
Is it? Yeah. It's gonna be on Amazon tomorrow.
Yes.
But no, we'll
Yes.
definitely be your biggest supporters on this.
Absolutely.
And please don't send us free copies. I don't know if you were going to, but don't, because I want to support you. I wanna
For real,
buy
for
you
real.
I
a
appreciate
book.
that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I might have another social coming up.
Well, I want to support you on that one too.
Yes.
Yes.
Because
Please keep
y'all
us
need to go to
updated.
her. If you're in Nashville, if you're traveling
Yep.
in Nashville, whatever, just look up our Instagram because we'll be definitely reposting it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
fun times, good
Mhm.
learning, a lot of good
Mhm.
history.
And then the food is good.
the food was so good. Food, ice cream, drinks.
People, community.
It was just every tablescape. I'll even
yeah.
post a picture of what the tablescape looked like.
It was good. It was fun.
No, we are actually already did on our
Oh, yeah, we
Instagram.
did.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did because you made a little video of it.
I
Gosh.
did. Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, thank you, Loki.
Thank you, Loki.
Thank you. Thank you. Ambrosia salad.
Ambrosia salad.
Ambrosia salad.
Well, thank you all. We appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for another episode of Milk Eggs.
And a whole lot of tea.
We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.